what I hear listening to that music, and you can correct me if it's totally off base, but listening to that music, I'm like, something about the space, something about the texture of the whole thing reminds me a lot of Jah Wobble and like the first couple of Public Image records. Like it's
Well,
not like the vocals
he's
aren't
in an
necessarily there, but like the texture and the feel and the openness and the space of the whole thing reminds me so much of that music and those records.
well, I don't think I was quite as interesting as him on the Ataxia stuff, but it is essentially following a similar guide because John Wobble's I think he's a teenager when Lydon asks him to play, and he has not been in any kind of a band at that time, but he totally takes up the challenge, not because he wants to be in a big band or anything, but because he's like, oh, I have ideas of what the bass can do. And so when he goes into Public Image, my feeling was always that he's kind of the least experienced member, but he's doing really interesting things. And the other experienced members are just going, hey, that's cool.
Right.
You go ahead and do that. And so they just let him kind of, maybe other people wrote stuff, but it just feels like he's introducing ideas and then they are coming up with these really cool things that go around it.
Yeah.
And so that's in other words, maybe the concept of the song formation is somewhat similar, but I'm always sticking to just one riff. I'm keeping my riffs really simple,
Uh-huh.
mainly because remember, I didn't know they were going to be recorded.
Right.
Mainly because I want to remember them all next week at the show.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm going to have to know 10 songs, but really I'm going to have to remember them and shit. And I forgot one on stage for sure. We
Uh-huh.
started a song in the show and I'm
Like
over
how's that
at
go?
John's side of the stage going, John, what is my fucking riff?
Right, right.
He's like in my ear going, bah, bah,
Uh-huh. But it worked. I mean,
Yep.
in both cases, it just feels like the bass is the foundation upon which everyone else gets to play.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't know. I personally really dig that. And like creatively, that's sort of a process that speaks to me and feels very familiar. It's just like
Yeah, I
kind of
think,
create a rhythm, create a texture, create a feel, and that's the foundation. And then you can kind of texture things, on top of that, basically.
yeah, I think the things that happened in the 80s with bands putting all kinds of music together to form what that music could be, people who weren't, professional musicians who had done a lot, just very creative people starting bands, with the inspiration to do so, um, mixed with the clash of all these different types of music. Like everyone heard dub, in the 80s, everyone heard reggae and dub
Hmm.
if you're at punk shows because it just got pulled in, not just in
Right.
England, but like there were the very first like radio shows in my area where a university station before they closed that was playing interesting punk stuff. They were also playing cool reggae and dub, and then an even more popular station had, a regular radio station locally had a late night show that played dub, and it was just so cool to be introduced to all that stuff at that time. I think a lot of people who got into music then and who wanted to play could bring that into their bass playing. It's
Hmm.
as if all of that was suddenly super introduced as a possibility for bass.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think that's right.